Hello, Ruhi. Ruhi, over to you.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah, Ruhi.
There are no secrets to success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. Hari Om. Good morning, everyone. Today, we all have gathered here for the inaugural ceremony of Computer Application Association. When you turn your worry into worship, God will turn your battles into blessings. So, let's begin the session with prayer. I invite Sangeeta of 2nd BCA for invocation. Sangeeta, over to you.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्रीत पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रकृतिति देवैः सदा पूजिता सा मा पादो सरस्वती भगवती निशेष जाड्यापहा.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Next, I invite Computer Application Association Secretary Malavika Manoj to deliver the welcome address. Malavika, over to you.
Ma'am.
Yeah,
Hello?
you're audible.
Am I audible?
You're audible, Malavika.
Thank you, ma'am. A very warm good morning to all of you. I'm feeling very honored to welcome you all to this auspicious ceremony. I heartily welcome our respected principal, who has always been very encouraging in all endeavors of our department. Welcome, ma'am. I'd like to extend a special welcome to our guest of honor, Dr. Bijoy Anthony Jose, Associate Professor at Department of Computer Science, Cochin University of Science and Technology. He has received Early Career Research Awards from Department of Science and Technology in 2016. His research team focuses on various topics such as embedded system, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, virtualization, machine learning, video, and image processing. We are really privileged and proud to have Sir as the chief guest, and we thank him to be the chief guest and give away a keynote address also. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of all the fraternity here. Welcome, sir. I am also very privileged to welcome our beloved HOD, Mrs. Anita Haridas, who have always been very supportive and been a best friend to us more than a teacher. Welcome, ma'am. I also welcome the teachers from our as well as other departments who make the ceremony more auspicious. Last but not least, I welcome my fellow friends for the session, and also I request them to make use of this session in a very effective way. As we all know, today we are here to inaugurate the Association of Computer Application 2021-22. On one hand, an association acts as a platform for dissemination of knowledge through various events, activities, and discussions, while on the other hand, it brings together students to work together for a common cause. Hereby, I invite you all to inaugurate this auspicious ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Malavika. True leaders don't create followers. They create more leaders. With this note, I invite Head of our department, Ms. Anita Haridas, to deliver the President's address. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Ruhi. Hari Om. Respected Principal, Chief Guest of the Day, Dr. Bijoy A. Jose, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science, CUSAT. My dear colleagues, and beloved students. I'm very happy that we could make the association inauguration happen in spite of all the hindrances like bus strike, Band, COVID-19, etc. The happiest thing is that Dr. Bijoy, who had contributed a lot in the computer science field and attained lots of recognition, had consented to be the chief guest in spite of his very, very busy schedule and ready to share his knowledge, ideas, and to motivate our students. And the topic of today is very, very impressive because always we often think one who completes the any IT program assumes that there is only one opportunity to be a developer in any of the IT industry. But I hope the keynote address will give you an idea on how to create opportunities rather than looking for opportunities. That's going to be very cool also, as you are the owner of an opportunity created by you. And not only that, rather than developing the employable skills, you will think about how to employ others in your own firm. And not only that, we know the entrepreneurship always breaks the tradition as well as the cultures of that society. It creates new products, new services, and thereby it will stimulate new opportunities and employment also. And it also reduces the dependency on the obsolete system or the traditional system or the traditional technologies that we have. And the entrepreneurship always, especially in the field of computer science, encourages the creative thinking, research and development. Of course, that is one of the core area of entrepreneurship. And not only that, new innovative products will be released in the market and new technologies will also be released in the market. And not only that, we have already experienced how this COVID-19 pandemic has given a way for lots of opportunities in developing the mobile applications, because mostly the people were depending completely on the mobile phones and the online tools, and how these online mobile applications have been developed. Even the very remote area retailer shops have started developing mobile application for promoting their business, right? So this entrepreneurship in the area of software will be a very interesting digital transformation. And not only that, all the kind of like, because it is going to integrate the technology, it will integrate the data, it will integrate the processes kind of services also. And not only that, the entrepreneurship in the area of software will surely change the way organization is going on, right? The complete organizational change will happen whenever we are going to innovate something new in the area of software. And most of us, I should say 98% of the teachers, students, business people, health sector, all of them are now familiar with the applications, online tools. And this entrepreneurship in the area of software is going to create more and more opportunities for the computer science students, I should say. And I hope Dr. Bijoy will give you more insights on how you can create your own opportunities rather than searching for opportunities, rather than being an employee, how you can become an employer. So that will be delivered by Dr. Bijoy in a very, very interesting manner, I hope. And I thank personally Dr. Bijoy. Within 2 minutes, he had consented to be the chief guest of this particular session also. Thank you so much, sir. And I welcome once again all the teachers as well as students for the session. And I request all the students to make use of the session and make it more interactive also. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my honor to introduce our chief guest. He is Associate Professor at Department of Electronics, Cochin University of Science and Technology, Dr. Bijoy Anthony Jose. He has received his BTech from the School of Engineering, CUSAT, and his MS from State University of New York. He received his PhD from Virginia Tech in 2011 and worked at Intel Corporation in California for a few years before joining academia. He has received Early Career Research Award from Department of Science and Technology, Government of India in 2016. He is principal investigator to multiple founded projects from BST, IEEE, and CII. His research team focuses on various topics such as embedded system, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, virtualization, machine learning, video, and image processing. He is currently Secretary of IEEE Kerala Section. I invite our chief guest to inaugurate the association and deliver the keynote address. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anida Madam, for the invite. I'm not very sure whether the principal is here in this meeting.
She has not yet joined, sir. She will be joining shortly.
Sure. So I got this invite recently, and I think it is because I had met Anida Madam recently at Kannur University, where I had visited for a talk. So I was mentioning to her that I would rather visit a location because it will help deliver a talk better, right? So I think COVID has forced us to do an online thing, but I think here on we should more focus towards an in-person visit. But that would mean me coming to Kannur again. That will be a lot of trouble. So I think we are settling for an online meeting. I'm delighted to hear that the computer science students at Chinmay Arts and Science College is having an association, and I'm guessing that will mean that there will be more technical activities, professional activity, which will encourage them to take up something beyond their books, right? And that is something that I am also very passionate about. People going beyond their books and doing either good to society or doing good to themselves. Sometimes it goes with each other. You might end up doing a social humanitarian project, and it will improve your learning also, right? Let's say you are creating a software for maybe a nearby vendor, right? Maybe a small shop. Maybe you are making a mobile app which will be used for tracking something within your college, right? So those are services student association can do, right? It can help maybe your college itself become digitally transformed, right? And I hope such associations will help the overall I would say exposure to students, right? So today I'm going to give a talk on entrepreneurship, right? That is one aspect that everyone should consider, right? So there is no gender bias in entrepreneurship these days. Women are taking up entrepreneurship in large scale, and in Kerala also that is being seen. And I would say software is one of the most convenient places where you can start a new venture. It does not require on the ground fighting with people or any something that is not recommended, actions that are not recommended, right? So it is something that is straightforward. As a consulting basis, anybody can take up. And let's say there is 50 students today, right? In this group, I would hope that at least a few of them end up there, right? And even if you don't end up there, it is always important to understand what is entrepreneurship in software, because you might get employed in one of those companies. It could be as big as the TCS, Infosys, Wipros of the world in India, or it could be a startup, right? Or it could be a SME which is building a product, or it could be a small business or a medium-sized IT company which is offering a service. So it is important for you to understand the trouble that they are going through, so that you can become good employees also, right? So it can help in that way also, right? So I think with these words, I would like to inaugurate the association of this computer science students and move on to the keynote part. So Anida Madam, should I start right now, or are we?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, right.
In that case, I have something that I want to cover in maybe 20-30 minutes. I have a small slide deck. Let me cast that. Just let me know when it is full screen.
Yes, sir, it's full screen now.
Okay. So I think you guys got an introduction about me. I'm currently an associate professor at Department of Computer Science. I was before in electronics and assistant professor. I've done BTech from CUSAT itself. After that, I studied and worked in US for around 10 years. Now I'm back to India, to my hometown in Kalamassery in Kochi, working in Kochi University. So that's a bit about me. And this is what I want to cover today, right? So when you say entrepreneurship, we need to understand the background about entrepreneurship. So we'll just define what is an expert, and then we go into entrepreneurship. And we'll discuss about some of these disruption examples, and what is the probable future in software. And when I say what should I do, I'm not talking what should Dr. Bijoy do. I'm talking in terms of what should each one of you do, right? So how will you benefit? So this is something I had discussed in Kannur University. I will not go into that much depth here, but this is how our world has been changing, right? So there is pre-internet, which is people talking to each other, right? From there, we have moved into an age where it was internet of content. Many of you might be too young to remember those days where a web page would just mean that there is a lot of information there. At the moment, you might be thinking of this as, okay, your university exam result or your CBSE marks, how it came, right? So that is an example of information of content, sorry, internet of content, right? A lot of content is put on the web and people are asking, accessing it. It could be, email, it could be a website and things like that. And that changed into internet of services. And internet of services meant companies like Amazon, Flipkart, or Nika, or any of those portals that you go and buy things, right? So it became just, instead of just listing information, you were allowed to buy it. And later it became internet of people, right? So internet of people would mean that you are using social media, right? So instead of buying services, it became people interacting with each other. There are things to purchase in Instagram, so that is also a way to coerce people into purchasing stuff. But that is how it is changing, and it is told that it will move into Internet of Things and AI and things like that, right? So that could be the future. That is what we are looking at right now. So I want to ask you a question, right? So you can probably put it in the chat. Let me see if I can. So why did you join this course? Right, so there could be different reasons for it. I want to explore that, so you can be honest, just it's my nearby college, that is a valid answer. This is the best college I got with my marks, that is a valid answer. So let me see if at least one person can respond with an opinion. So why did you join your particular course? And I highly encourage people to respond. Okay, so this is the first part in getting a job. What is the first part in proactiveness? Right, it is very difficult. I understand. I was a student like you, sitting in the 50 strong class. The first thing I also think is, let the teacher not look at me. Right, and that is really the exact thing that you should break. Right, so I'm putting that challenge to you. Right, so can you break that and just respond in chat? Like, you'll just type something. That is all that will come. Right, why did you join this course? You can just say, it is good for my future. It is the best I could get from my this. Or let's say you're passionate about computer science. Maybe you are wanting to join this course, right? Okay, so someone saying work in IT industry. Okay, someone saying it is the first to achieve my goal, right? So at least two people have responded, right? So they don't have any follow-up questions, so don't worry. Okay, so some might say I want to be a businessman. I'm not talking about computer science alone. Okay, I'm just talking about relatively. Like, somebody say I want to work in corporate, right? Someone might say, okay, I don't want to work in technology, right? So that could be an opinion. Someone will say, I don't want to sweat at work, so I want to sit in a desk and work, right? air conditioned room or a fan on top of me. I don't want to do civil engineering where I am at the work site, right? So there are different reasons. So someone might say my entrance rank was 3000, but what I wanted to join required 2999, so I am stuck here, right? So this is not what I wanted to learn, right? So all these things are part of it, right? So whatever it is, you are stuck with this course right now, right? So that is reality, right? So you have taken this BCA course or MCA course or MSc computer science or BTech computer science, any of that, right? You're stuck in this particular branch right now. So all that matters, forget all the first few bullet points. It's only about what is the future and what is the present, right? What has happened has happened. So what are you going to do? So that is going to uh, you know take the next step in terms of defining who's an expert. I don't know how many of you have heard of this author. Maybe not as famous in India, but still, if you are a non-fiction reader, this person could be famous. Um, so he has a book called Outliers. Okay, what is an outlier? Outlier is something that is out of the ordinary, right? Out of the ordinary. So when you think about A.R. Rahman, he's an outlier, right? Everybody likes music, but not everybody is A.R. Rahman, right? You think about Yeshudas, a lot of people can sing. Every class might have one singer, but they are not Yeshudas, right? So Yeshudas is probably, one of the greatest artists that we have, right? So we always think about Mammootty and Mohanlal and things like that. But actually, maybe what you can argue that Yeshudas is the biggest thing that has happened in our, Malayalam culture, right? In some ways, right? It is somebody who has this longevity and unparalleled in his field, right? So similarly, so Outliers is about such people, right? So he has a theory saying that, this author, for an individual to be an expert in a skill, he needs to spend 10,000 hours practicing and working on it. Okay, it's a theory saying what makes somebody an expert, right? And that has lot of factors, so he has a pyramid where the success is on top of the pyramid, and he says, it requires timing, right? It requires a good upbringing, right? Somebody who's born on the street may not become a Rahman, right? Someone who has a decent childhood might have the opportunity to become that, right? You need to have probably cultural legacies, and we'll explain that further. You need to get a good break, right? There may be people who are very talented, but they are not lucky. But even if you have all this, nothing replaces the one at the bottom, which is 10,000 hours of practice. Let's look into that in more detail. So this is things that you see in Instagram and Facebook quite often, right? And you see this post when you fail in your college exams, right? So people send you consolation messages saying, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg also lost. I mean, he didn't lose, he's dropped out of Harvard, right? Bill Gates also did not complete college. Steve Jobs did not even get admitted to a top college, but even that they didn't finish. Fourth one is a joke. Maybe some of you understand it if you see the TV series. If you don't, you don't. That doesn't matter. So you get all these motivational forwards when you lose a paper in your college exam, right? So it might motivate you. Okay, so I have also failed. So which means I can become Zuckerberg. I can become like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. Well, there is a few things that you should remember. So let's take Bill Gates for example, right? He's a living person. You might have heard about it. He's probably more important to my generation. You guys are in the Facebook generation, but still, let's say he dropped out of Harvard, but we should still remember that he failed an exam or he lost out or maybe he didn't lose a paper. I'm just saying that he still got admitted into Harvard, right? So we are not Harvard students at the moment. So don't, do an apple to apple comparison there. Now, what is his background? He was born in a very wealthy family. Lawyer is a top profession in America. Banker is a good profession in America, right? So parents, wealthy lawyer, his mother, banker's daughter, also in such circles, right? So this guy, he in 7th grade joined a computer club, right? He went to a very good private school. He got a good education. He joined a computer club at 7th grade. We are talking about, 1970s here. Computers in India is non-existent at that time, but computers exist in America. 1968, his mother's club bought a computer terminal in Seattle, where he got access to use this, right? He went to University of Washington and leased some time in the computer to do some experiments. This is all things that he has done in school, right? In his free time, he made a payroll application. What is payroll? Payment and salary calculation thing, right? In his free time, he did that as a hobby. He took an independent study semester, which means he didn't go to school proper, full-time school, and he went and wrote code for a power station app, right? So let's say here it's public, so we only have KSEB. There you have private power generators and power distributors, right? So he made a software application during that time. By the time he went to college, he had already 7 years of programming experience, right? So I would say, a regular, I wouldn't say, some of you might be very smart, okay, I'm not discounting that. A regular student does not even have 1 years of programming experience, because all they do is assignment. And if you are doing original work, that is good. If you are copying, then you don't even have 2 months of experience in programming. So you're talking about a person who had 7 years of experience when he joined Harvard. So someone with 7 years of experience probably don't have a lot to learn in computer science at that time. If you are going to become a programmer, you already have learned all these things. So just look at that pyramid. This guy has all these things working for him, right? He has lucky opportunities. His mother upbringing is great, right? 10,000 hours of practice, and all the timing stuff also works. So let's see that, right? What is timing? See, this guy was working in computer science when the computer revolution happened. Let's say he was 1952, born before 1952. Then Bill Gates would have been too old, right? By the time the computer revolution happened, he would have been in his 30s. So he would have left it. He might have become some other person. He might have become a banker. He might have gone into some other industry which was more popular. He might have been in music, or whatever it may be, right? If he was born after 1959, the computer revolution would have already happened, right? So he must have missed the bus, right? If you just think about that 1975 as a year, you can just see, okay, all the similar greats, they were born around the same time. Bill Gates 1955, Paul Allen, another Microsoft great, Steve Ballmer, who was the later CEO, Steve Jobs, Apple CEO, Google CEO, Eric Schmidt, they were all born on that 53, 55. So timing is also important. So let's say you say that I'm going to study about steam engine in 2022. Well, you are a few 100 years timing wise off. Let's say you are going to say that I'm going to look at how to send a rocket into another solar system. You are a little few 100 years early, right? So you have to work on the right problem. What is the biggest problem in our generation, right? And you guys, I'm 39, so probably my boat has sailed. I've already decided what to do, right? You guys are in early 20s, you're nearing 20s. So you have options, at least in computer science, to do what you want. And you have to understand what is the right field to go into. Otherwise, you might stuck in a field. Okay, let's say in 2022, you are going to work in mainframes. That is a very bad thing to do. I was put in mainframes by Cognizant when I graduated. I decided to quit my first job within 3 months. Usually people don't do that. Okay, you did BTech, you got Cognizant job. This is 2004, right? So at that time, it was very nice, right? So then they had only 15,000 employees. Now they have 2 lakh. Right, so you are in the first 15,000 employees, you are going into a software company. But in 3 months, I quit and went to study, because I don't think what I was working on was very promising. Okay, so all these things matter. Timing matters, upbringing, cultural legacy. As in, like, let's say Steve Jobs was, we discussed all these matters about Bill Gates. No, what if he was doing all this in India? In 1975, he will never found Microsoft, because India is not ready for this, right? So cultural legacy matters, because he would have had to be a American born at that time for such wealthy parents with University of Washington and such things nearby to get those 7 years of programming experience to found Microsoft. So just imagine how many things have to work perfectly, right? So you analyze your life, what is that, you are being, led to at the moment, right? What can change you can make to make your career go further, right? And this is probably, it is getting late for you, right? In few years, you will not have that option. You will get a job somewhere, hopefully, and they will decide your future, right? You will not get to, if you're doing well in your college, you're doing well in placements and things like that, you might get options. You might be able to dictate to the company, I want to work on this thing because this thing seems to be the future. So this is not just about Bill Gates, right? So Bill Gates was just a guy who spent 20 to 30 hours as a hobby in programming, not because this teacher did that. Now, I'm not saying, you all have to become Bill Gates, right? So Beatles, that's another music band, right? So they were not famous initially. They were in a local restaurant playing, like you see in Kochi or, any big city outside Kerala, right? So they are in a restaurant playing, but they were playing music all the time. They were always practicing. And when the break came to start an album, it became a huge hit because they already had the 10,000 hours of practice. They were experts in what they're doing, right? So Mozart, he didn't do the same thing until 21. Let's not go Mozart. Let's just look at A.R. Rahman, right? So he was assisting his father as a keyboard player. And then he was assisting Ilayaraja as a keyboard player until Roja happens, right? So when you say, oh, he's too young, he's only 21, or I don't know what his age was when Roja happened. He may be 21, but his music sense is 40 because he has been working for 10 to 15 years in this. So that is not a newcomer, right? So you can't really look at age. It is all about whether you have achieved 10,000 years of hours of practice. So when you are, you are not in music industry or nor you are in music college right now. So at Chinmaya Arts, if you are studying BCA and you are thinking about a software profession, are you gaining 10,000 hours of practice? That is going to define your career. So takeaways, work on something that you're passionate about. Don't look at, this is something, when I joined Cochin University as a government employee, I was leaving a software architect position from Intel Bangalore. And you probably are not aware of salary structures in, Intel Bangalore versus government as Ross or entry level lecturer. But let me just say it was huge. But let's say even before that, I came from Intel working in California to Intel Bangalore. There is also a huge difference between salaries here and there, which, I want to tell you that, don't work just for money's sake, right? It has to be, money has to be there to be happy. Only people with money can say that I don't care about money, right? So, you can't be hungry and learning about, socialism. First, you have to eat something, then you can learn about socialism and democracy and things like that, right? So, of course, you have to make money, right? But you have to be working on something that you're passionate about. Otherwise, going to work on a daily basis will be terrible. At the end of the day, let's say you're 75, you're dying. It does not matter how much bank balance you have. Whether you led a fulfilling life, whether you are happy going to work every day, because you have to do that until 60, 65, right? If you were earning a lot of money and you were hating your life till 65, so what did you work for? For living well from 65 to 80? That was the goal of your life. You should be happy on a regular basis, no? So maybe you could have earned a little lower and done something that you want to do in life, right? So what you want to do in life is more important than what you are earning in life, right? So don't work, looking at instant reward, or don't look at, hey, I'm being paid only 20,000, so I'll work only this much. Because there is a big problem with looking at your salaries and working. I'll come to that in the next part. So I think the last parts I'll skip faster. So let's go into entrepreneurship. So what are the conservative companies? Let's say Tata, all those, are conservative companies. They look at what is my annual revenue, what is my profit and loss. But the new companies don't look like that. Let's say Bijoy, right? or let's say take some, Paytm. They are not profit making companies. So let's say Swiggy, you are ordering all these things. No, Swiggy is making, I think, crores of loss every year, but everybody is buying their stock if available. Why is that? Because the market cap is high. The market cap sort of means valuation, right? So when they started the company, they were making only 50 lakhs revenue, right? So then they sold 10% of the company to the market. They got this much. Then it became like, lakhs of people are using their app. Then they sell another 10%. It is not going for a few lakhs, it is going for a few crore. And they are using those crores to run the company, right? And then it gains more users. Then they sell 10%, it is going for hundreds of crores, right? So that is what valuation is about. That is very different from profit and loss. The company is at a loss, but people think it will be a profit. So best example is Facebook. Facebook for 10 years was a huge loss. Every year it was, billions of money down the drain. Just look at WhatsApp. Who's making money out of WhatsApp? Nobody. They are giving it to you for free. How can they make money out of it? But the moment if they start a digital wallet in that, it will start making money. Even if you don't, WhatsApp has the phone number of every individual in the world. That itself is money. They know how they chat, how much what do they search for. You can sell those information to Amazon and make money, right? So those companies are more valued than a steel factory, right? So the world has changed, right? So we need to understand that, okay, which company is bigger, right? So the traditional companies versus the new companies, we have to look at it in a different way. So I was talking about, working about it, don't read this whole thing, you might not understand. I don't want to go into that also. I told about don't work for salary alone. What I meant was, don't complain that your company is giving you 30,000 or 20,000. So I'll work only this much because I feel, they deserve only this much. So there is something called Peter principle, where they say is, in a hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to his level of incompetence. You might think that the line should be, an employee tends to rise to his level of competence. Why is that? I am an assistant professor, I should get promoted to associate professor. So I would say I am competent, right? And let's say I am looking at as an associate professor, I want to become professor. So I want to, rise to my level of competence. So let's say it's a pure merit oriented thing. I join as an assistant professor, I get promoted to associate professor, and then I get stuck there. Why am I stuck there? They feel I am not doing good at my job, right? So I never become professor. So where am I stuck at? I am stuck at associate professor, where I am not good at my job. So if everybody is getting promoted just for their salaries, what they are working on, they are getting promoted from a post where you are doing very well into a post where you have been proven to be terrible. So in an organization, everybody is doing really terrible work because they are all stuck at a level where they are not good at. That is why they are not moving further, right? So companies like Intel, where I was working, they have a different way of looking at it. So, there is no assistant professor in Intel, but let's say it is programmer, senior programmer, and architect. Okay, let's just take that. So if you are an assistant professor, equivalent being a programmer, they will give you the responsibility of a senior programmer, but will not pay you senior programmer. And you do that for a year, and you feel and you prove that you are good as a senior programmer. Then they will give you the senior programmer title. Once you become a senior programmer, in a few years later, they will give you the architect job, not the designation, not the salary. They will make you do the architect job. And if you do well, they'll make you architect, right? That will mean that everybody in the company is working in a position where they are excellent at. Isn't that the right way to go? So maybe you don't do entrepreneurship, but you should understand that you are not being promoted because they don't feel that you don't qualify for the job above you, not because you are bad at what you're doing right now, right? They are very happy at what they are doing right now. That is why you still have a job. Otherwise, you should be thrown out, right? So if you want to go one level higher, it is not enough to do what you are doing right now. You have to stand out. So two people stood out today by putting a message in the chat, right? Those are the only two students your teacher have noticed, right? The others have not done anything wrong. I am not blaming them. But standing out in the crowd is extremely important. Those students did not get 10 rupees extra for doing that. Right? They just showed some proactiveness. They did not feel like this is all I should do. Right? I am doing what everybody is doing. If you are doing what everybody is doing, you will be stuck at where everybody is. Right? So try to be proactive. It doesn't hurt. People, the biggest problem with us, generally Malayalis, is that we don't want to look different. We don't want to do anything different. Right? We want to conform to what, I think, that's a big north-south divide in that. We all underplay ourselves, and people in the north, generally, I have seen that they can claim what they might not even have that, but they have the confidence for it. And it matters having the confidence for it. Because if you are not confident, why would somebody promoting you will show confidence? Okay, I think I'll skip these things, not so important. This is, I'll skip this example. But this one, I want to just define disruption, right? So the new companies that you will be looking at, they are not regular companies where you're, working 9 to 4. See that taxi drivers waiting at a stand. This is a common sight 15 years back or 10 years back. Like autos in a stand, taxis were just standing there. One day they'll get one ride. They might go from Ernakulam to Thrissur and they'll come back. So they have to milk this particular customer as much as possible. Because you are only driving for 1 hour there and 1 hour back. And this 24 hours of this guy's time has to be made from this person. And then disruption happens. You know which app has come? Can you put in the chat? I know you know this one. It's a quite easy thing. Which app has come? Which has changed how taxi business is now? You can put it in the chat, the name of the app which has disrupted. Okay. One person has put it, Uber, right? Red Taxi, whatever, right? So Ola, right? So all these guys have changed things. What have they changed? They have once changed that the taxi driver is no longer working for 2 hours a day. He is working 8 hours a day. He is going from A to B, then B to C to D, and so on. And there is no return money charge because you are never returning. You are going from A to B, not from B to A. To B to C, he is going. So the fare has been dropped by half. Right? So that is really disruption. You are taking technology. Just remember that Uber does not own a single taxi in the world, but it is the biggest taxi company in the world. I know that 10 years back, that looks ridiculous. No? Not 10 years back, 20 years back. Uber started in US much longer back. Right? It is so ridiculous that a biggest taxi company does not own any taxi. So this is a book I recommend everybody to read, 0 to 1. Peter Thiel is the founder of PayPal. He's an investor in Facebook. He's an investor in several companies that you know, right? And he says, if you ever start a company, don't try to be the best company in the world. Don't try to start a newspaper to beat Manorama, right? Don't, try to become a better cricketer than Sachin Tendulkar in terms of technique, right? That is very hard, right? So the first problem is, are you the best? Let's say you're starting a restaurant. Are you the best restaurant in Kochi? That is very difficult to achieve. There will be so many restaurants who have done this business for so many years, who know so much more about this business than you. But you can be the second, the worst part. Let's say you're starting a Bengali restaurant in Kochi. What is your competition? I have not heard of a Bengali food restaurant in Kochi. When you start on that day, you are number one. Right? So you strive for something unique and don't try to compete with the elephants in the room. Right? So we all, think about companies as you have to compete and win, right? But what Peter Thiel says is, Competition is for losers. Why do you have to compete? You can do something that they don't do. Why can't you be the first and the only one to do it? Why not establish a monopoly in something that you are doing, what others are not doing? So just the example. So PayPal is a company that was founded by Elon Musk. You might have heard about him, right? With SpaceX and things like that, Tesla and things like that. And X.com was a company that was founded by Peter Thiel. They both made the same product, which is online money transfer. In a regular world, they both would have competed and both would have been average companies. Both would have competed and one would have won and the other have lost. But both are very smart investors. They both combined the company and made only PayPal.com and took equal stake in it. And PayPal became a huge company and they sold it. Right? So don't compete. You can probably do something better. And this PayPal, you can see, it's called the PayPal mafia. The founders of PayPal went on to found all these companies. Some of them you're familiar with YouTube. It was founded by 3 people who were part of PayPal initial engineers. You might have heard of LinkedIn. It was founded by a guy who was in PayPal. Elon Musk, you probably know already, SpaceX and Tesla. Square is an app not so famous there. Zomato equivalent is called Yelp in USA. All these are companies founded by them, right? Because they have sort of understood what is, the key thing in entrepreneurship, right? So it is not a coincidence that they found 15 engineers together and made PayPal, right? There is a secret sauce to this, right? They have people who have found it. So don't try to make a search engine because there is already a really good one called Google, right? You have to do something different, right? Don't become incrementally better restaurant and see if you have 10,000 hours of practice in whatever you're doing. Otherwise, don't even try, right? So right now, your goal is, let's say you're doing programming. Are you doing any hobby stuff to get this 10,000 hour of practice? And never try to work proportional to your pay and complain about that. Because if you are really good, people will notice and you can switch your job. Right? You have to go out and network and let others see that you are really good. Then they will come and look for you. So what does the future hold? I'll skip these things. There is a lot of things in the industry like, augmented reality, virtual reality. This is, when you might say this is a car part, which is like a trunk where you put the luggage, but actually it's the front part of Tesla, right? So see how engines have changed. This is a smart car, driving in streets of California. Right, so I'm skipping all these things. Tesla, you have already heard of. So this is my friend Manohar. I was working in Intel at that time. He's wearing Google Glass. Maybe Google Glass as an experiment did fail, but in later time, maybe you will have Google Glass lights kind of technologies, right? So virtual reality, augmented reality. Some of you might have, maybe girls don't play as much computer games, but some might have seen, right? So there is immersive view games, right? These things are very popular. If you have heard of Urban Ladder, that is a company which sells furniture, where you can just use the app and place the furniture in your room and take a picture about how your room will look with this sofa. Now, instead of the green sofa, you'll put in a red sofa and see how it is. Right? You don't have to go to the furniture store. Even if you go there, you can't compare that furniture with your room color. Right? So it is being put into practice by all these companies in the world. Right? You can have things like understanding language, shopping where there is no cashier. You're having chatbots respond to you. You order something. You may not need somebody in the cafe. Right? So there are such aspects to it. I'm going to skip some of these things details. So initially, what you need to bother is what should you do, right? So we in CUSAT we do installation of all these things. I think it's not so important for you guys, right? I'll skip those videos. But as a student, what should be done? Embrace technology. You are in technology, right? So you have to become really good at what you do. Try to work on something you're passionate about as hobby. I'm not going to advise you about making score in, let's say you make 74% versus 76%. I don't think any of the companies care whether you lost 2%. But if you have done a hobby software project and if you put it in your resume, in an interview, they will definitely ask, what did you do? You can explain that project, they will be impressed. These things make you stand out. I think, 3-4 people put a message in chat. They may not be the top 1% in class with respect to academics. But I didn't notice the person who got first rank. I only noticed the person who said something over the chat. Right? So you have to stand out. You can't be, standing in a straight line. We are all trained to be the straight line, not to break, patterns, but you have to break patterns going forward. School is over, right? You have to break patterns. Be an active volunteer in NSS, IEEE, Tech Fest, hackathon. Just go participate. Maybe in the hackathon you did nothing, it is okay. But at least you saw what others are doing. It will instill some fear in you that, oh, these guys are doing all these things. Right? So it will get you an understanding in terms of what I should do slightly. And if you hang around those kids, you will also improve. It will automatically happen. Right? Otherwise, you are always looking at, your Instagram reels, wasting time. Right? In 1 year, will you be able to remember the Instagram reel? You won't. So what is the point of, it's just instant gratification, right? I'm just getting happiness by just scrolling through this. So this is like a metric, importance versus urgency, high, low. Obviously, it is urgent doing your coursework. It is important, but it is not that important. It is very important that you are learning something out of the syllabus also. Right? But the urgency is very low because nobody is conducting an exam about out of syllabus stuff. And that is the quadrant where you forget to do all this work. You will do the regular coursework because from the teacher you will get the urgency. Right? But out of syllabus, there is nobody. Can you do a mobile app every semester and put it in the store? Nobody needs to download it, but you can give the link of those apps in your resume, and person who's hiring is going to look at, oh, this person did something, not just coursework. Everybody in the course did the coursework. What is the difference? Do a strong project at the course, right? So that you are very clear about, your topic and things like that. Stand out from the crowd. Don't try to be like everybody else. That is not the goal here on. From school, you're trained to be, obeying everyone. It is now time to stand out. Join a professional society like NSS, IEEE. I don't know what you have in your association today, right? Be active in that. It will expose you to new things. It will let you meet new people, right? So you will get role models. You'll, maybe improve your life entirely, right? So try to be active in that. So I think that is the message I want to give today, right? Try to stand out in all the things you do, right? So try to do things passionate and as a hobby rather than, just because the teacher asked you to submit, right? After a while, doing what you are supposed to do earns no appreciation. That will be over once you get out of school. You join a job, okay, you're doing what I'm told, that is what salary is for. Don't expect anything appreciation. It is only for doing out of syllabus stuff at work you will be appreciated, right? You may be really good at what you're doing, but if you are being paid for that, nobody cares. So I'm from computer science. You can contact me or email this. I thank Anita ma'am for the invitation. I thank all the students for your patient listening, and for those who ping back to me, thank you once more. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your ideas of how a student should be and how they have to think out of box, because that is very important in this competitive world. So I think students might have got an idea like how they have to be a student who can stand out. That is very, very important. Thank you so much, sir. Ruhi, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me now invite our beloved principal, Dr. C.R. Lalita ma'am, to felicitate the occasion. Ma'am, over to you.
Hari Om. Excuse me, I'm not switching on my video. Okay.
Hariom, ma'am.
As
Thank
you
you
all-
for joining, ma'am.
As you all know, actually, this last week of the academic year is not an apt time for inauguration. It is actually a time to say the concluding remarks of the activities done by the association. But the pandemic and the lagging of the semester made us to make everything in an odd manner. I would like to say that from the next year onwards, the inauguration is to be done immediately after the election, and many activities are to be taken up by the students. Anyway, best wishes for the Computer Application Association activities that will last till the next year election of office bearers, so that the present first year and second year students can organize various activities of the association. Once again, I wish all the best for the association activities, and thank you for the chief guest. Thank you, Dr. Bijoy, for coming to inaugurate this association. Thank you. Best wishes.
Thank you, ma'am. The session is open to queries. Those of you who are having questions can post it in the chat box or unmute and speak. Sir, there is a question.
Okay.
Which is the best, becoming an entrepreneur or going for a job, especially in the field of software?
See, it depends on what is best for you, best definition, right? So if you're thinking, okay, no, I want to be an entrepreneur, it's already decided, right? So no matter amount of working for a job in software is going to satisfy you, right? If you have that business sort of mentality, you have to go that direction for sure, right? Let's say if you are someone who doesn't want to take risk, I am very satisfied, maybe you have a music passion, this job is only for daily bread, then don't take the entrepreneurship route, right? So I wouldn't say one or the other is good or bad, right? So let's say you are Bill Gates, right? So he is very successful from the viewpoint of everybody. But let's say you don't want to be Bill Gates. That is okay, right? If your passion is music, right? You don't need to be Bill Gates, right? You were able to satisfy yourself, your passion. And for that, you needed money, which you got from working on a job in software. So I wouldn't, compare things and say one is greater than the other, right? So if you're happy, that is all it's good, right? But you need a career, like I said, people who have money and made money can only say that money doesn't matter, right? So money is part of, taking a job. So it is important that you have a good career. If you are passionate about software, it is all the more better, right? If you like software, you want to do a programming and you are studying programming, nothing like it, because automatically you'll be good at your job. I'll just read the question. What advice you will give for starting entrepreneurs? This is just opinion. Just because I said doesn't make it true. It's, that is what opinion is. I generally feel you should take a job for 1 to 2 years in software and then become an entrepreneur, because there might be a lot of things that you are doing wrong, which, as a software programmer, you will improve. And when you start your own company, you will at least avoid those mistakes. But the exceptions are people who start doing all these things in college itself. Right? Then probably after graduation, they can probably start a company. You don't have to wait. As there are a lot of organizations, how can we stand out from them? Let's say you're starting a company, how you can stand out from them? Going for the latest and greatest technologies. When does big companies buy small companies? Because the small companies tried out a new technology that they have not done so far. So instead of building a company which, let's say you are doing AR, VR, I'm just giving it as an example, augmented reality and things like that. A company like that is huge, having 1 lakh employees, probably don't have the time to experiment on all these things. But you're a small company, you can afford to do small things, experiment, try to make this. Then the big company will try to acquire you, and that is why you get a good exit where you get a price for your company and things like that. So how do you stand out? By not doing things that they are doing, right? Doing things that they are not able to reproduce, right? So those would be my answers.
Any more questions? Shall we move on?
Sridhar, I think that is a very long answer. Yeah. First of all, what is needed for launching one software app? So let's say you are comparing a mobile app versus you are comparing a Google Watch, right? So every software application is different. So I think that's too long an answer. I don't have a single answer for it.
I think there are no more questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you all. Next, I would like to invite Rigma Umesh of 2nd BCA to deliver the vote of thanks. Rigma, over to you.
Hari Om. Everyone, good afternoon, and I'm present here. Respected principal, teachers, and my dear friends, as we all know, we have gathered here for the BCA Association inauguration. So I take this opportunity to thank the Chief of Guest, Dr. Bijoy Anthony Jose, for gracing this occasion and making this event very inspiring and informative. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank the Head of Department, Ms. Anita Haridas, and our beloved teachers for the valuable guidance and encouragement in all our efforts. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all my friends and participants for making this function a resounding success. Thank you.
Thank you, Rigma. It's not what you achieve, but who you become while you are achieving it. With this, we come to end of the session. Thank you all for joining us. Once again, thank you.
On a personal note, I thank Dr. Bijoy Jose, who has joined here and shared his very valuable knowledge and motivated our students in a different aspect. Thank you, sir. On behalf of Chinmaya Arts and Science College, I thank you for your participation, sir. Thank you so much.